If you notice that the harder you work, the less pleasant it's getting, or the more pains you have in your shoulders, or the more something's holding you back, you might have to just work a bit less. Like you might have to, rather than work more or come up with more solutions or make more steps towards getting the results you want, you might have to take less steps and slow down and work less.
Without further ado, let's bring on our next guest. This is Loish. Please, in the chat, give a warm welcome to Loish. How are you doing, Loish?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
It's evening over there, yeah?
Yes, it's evening. Me and Aryan had a late dinner, and we was Rufus.
Rufus is a good one. Oh man!
I mean, the chat just missed the best interview I think we've ever done.
Honestly, yeah, we're done. So thanks, Lois.
That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, I just told everybody like the secret of success, right? But everybody missed it, sadly. So let's go home.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, if you got that, you got that, and you'll know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all in the chat so very much for joining us, for saying what's up here. Bring your comments here. We could not be more excited to have Lois join us. And Lois, you have one of the most celebrated careers out there. You've been doing this for nearly 2 decades. You designed the characters for Horizon Zero Dawn, and you also have this unbelievably powerful online presence. And as evident in the chat, everyone here is good to see you. So we couldn't be more grateful for you to join us here. And so it's evening over there, yeah?
It is, yeah. It's nighttime even. It's like 9:45 p.m.
Oh wow! Okay, so this is Friday night party main event.
Yeah,
headliners. Here we go.
For sure. Yeah, we're partying.
We like to think of this like a music festival because we loved music festivals, and I love putting the lineup together. It's so fun to be in this moment here.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us. So Lois, we've talked a lot at previous events too, and with Playgrounds about how you've done a lot of work in the studio system, but oftentimes that work, you do so much work, but it doesn't necessarily end up on the screen. So much gets lost and unreleased.
Right. Yeah, I'd say like a huge majority of my work that I've done for clients is, I always say, like hidden in a vault. You know, you make it under NDA, and which means non-disclosure agreement, and the company can decide, you know, they have the full copyright over the art, and they can decide themselves whether they want to release it or not.
You know, y'all were right in the chat there. The studio clients heard she's going after the NDA stuff. Shut it down. Shut it down.
A SWAT team just broke into the house and said, you can't talk about this.
Yeah.
So let's quickly change the subject. I feel uncomfortable talking about NDAs.
They are listening.
Well, first rule of NDA Club.
Yeah.
We're talking about client work, but let's just move on, because you're at a very important chapter in your career, I think, where you've made a choice now where you want to start sharing more with the world. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. So because of the NDAs, a lot of my artwork is hidden from the world, and I think it's some of my best work. So but I can't share it. And so initially, I thought like, well, eventually, you know, these companies will let me release the art, but it's been years for some of them, and they're still like, no, we're not releasing this. So I decided to focus more on personal work because like it's more fulfilling, but also because then I can share with the world where my art is going. And I can not only share the art itself, but also how did I make it? I can publish it in a book. I can use it as like inspiration for a story, you know, all of that. So it's my own idea and my own creation. And I think that at this point in my career, that just feels so much more fulfilling because I'm focusing a lot more on my connection with, how do I put this? Like the people who follow me online. Like I want that to be more genuine. So I want to share more of what I do with them.
Yeah, I have a question for this because I've been watching your art for 20 years. So, you know, since you started putting it on back in the DeviantArt days, like.
Oh gosh, has it been 20 years? No, it hasn't.
2003.
17. I feel like
17. There's a huge difference.
We're still in high school.
We'll round down. But it's been one of the coolest things to watch your progression, just from an outside point of view of creating incredible artwork back then, but to see not only how you grow, but how disciplined you are about improving. Can you talk about what that is and what drives you to continue to create and to continue to improve?
Well, for me, I always had a way, like when I was first learning how to draw, my focus was on making like a lot of art, so I used to do these things called okakis, which were like small doodles that were made in the browser, and I would just make like 3 a day or something like that, like just really quickly, spending like maybe half hour to an hour on each, which is a lot of time that I was putting into that actually. But I just wanted to draw fast and move on to the next one. So I didn't want to like make each drawing my perfect drawing. I wanted to take the challenges that I experienced and move it into my next drawing. And that's always been a priority for me. So I do spend a lot of time on my digital paintings. Those are the things, the images that you're seeing in the slideshow. Over to the right is much more like the detailed stuff that takes a lot of time. But I always found it really important to just make like rough studies and sketches, draw in my sketchbook, make like speed paints that I spend less time on, so that I can just like keep my focus on one piece for a little bit and then move my focus on to the next. And I think consistently doing that over time has allowed me to improve, because I experience the most improvement when I can just, focus intensely, but then quickly move on again. Like for me, most of my creative flow is a lot about not getting stuck. So drawing frequently and in short bursts helps me to do that. And that's helped me to improve over time.
I've heard you talk about the rigorous consistency that you put into your work and your discipline and how you structure your days. I think it's really cool hearing how you're stepping away from some of your more studio work so that you can put more time back in your day to get after the like consistent and focused work. Can you talk a little bit about how you structure your time? I know it's particular.
So that's something that I started doing recently, because before that, like 10 years ago or so, I was just drawing because I wanted to draw. And my life was, I had fewer responsibilities. I didn't have to spend as much time on client work. I was a student. So I had all the time to just kind of draw whenever I felt like. And that was quite frequently. But as more responsibilities came into my life, it couldn't work that way anymore. I couldn't just wait for inspiration to come. I needed to really structure my time and commit to it, because if I don't commit to, a creative practice, then it will it'll get swallowed up by all these small and annoying tasks, all the adulting stuff, basically. So I'm pretty rigorous at this stage of basically making a commitment each month to spending a certain number of hours on rough work and studies, a certain number of hours on character art, and on digital paintings. And I schedule that in, and I make that commitment, and I really try to stick to it, because if I don't do that, I will end up doing a bunch of other stuff that feels like it's really important to do, but it doesn't feed my creativity. It actually kind of kills my creativity. I need to keep my creativity flowing. But that's sort of how things have changed for me. I think as well, like a lot of people go into kind of an art block mode when they lose that sort of spontaneous inspiration to draw. Like, I think a lot of artists start out getting spontaneously inspired, and then that inspiration kind of dips away over time as your life changes, and then they get like kind of blocked, or they feel bad, like they should be spontaneously inspired. But I don't think that that's really necessary. I think that it's like your life changes or your priorities change, and you just need to figure out a different way. And for me, the different way was like scheduling it in and making like a commitment in advance.
I love that, like scheduling time to be creative regardless of whether inspiration is there or not.
Yeah.
Tara Tainton in the Twitch gaming channel goes, dude, is this all your art? And yes, Tara, the images that you're seeing here are from Loish's digital portfolio, which you can see on her social media across the interwebs. So talking about the discipline and the way you structure, I've heard you talk about, doing studies versus style explorations, and then ultimately digital paintings, and how you rotate that. Can you shine a little light for us on how you've structured almost your weeks, right?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, like I need to have a balance between the studies and the quicker stuff, and then like the more like heavy commitment kind of stuff, like my digital paintings, where I really spend like a couple of days really like working out the details, and I need to have that balance of both of them in order to keep my creativity flowing. Because if I spend a lot of time just on sketches and rough stuff, it becomes kind of like ADD, it becomes all over the place, like one thing after the next, one idea after the next. And what do you do with the knowledge that you kind of like pick up from those studies? You want to put that into, like, I want to put that into a detailed piece and really use that to a strong emotional effect. But if I spend all my time on these digital paintings, it's overwhelming. It's so much. It's like every time big mountain to climb. Just takes so much time to do it. And if you paint a lot, you get into that rhythm of like, oh, I've reached this certain level of detail. Now I know that I have to render for like hours in order for it to be done. And if you're only doing that, you'll get I get overwhelmed, and then I just want to go back to the more playful stuff. So I really have to balance both of them to keep my ideas flowing, to keep my creativity flowing, because otherwise I just start disliking the process of art, or I don't feel as connected emotionally to my art. So it's a constant change, rhythm and balance between all these different things that help me.
I love that, and Lois, your body of work is so incredible, and it speaks for itself in its in its prowess here. And I think that one thing we'd really like to spend some of this time on here with you while we have you, and several people in the chat have been buzzing about it too, is can we talk just a little bit about some of the things in your routine that aren't specifically the work? How do you, over 17 years, you draw with your hand? And sorry, on that note, do you use Procreate?
Sometimes.
Yeah, and do you use pen and pad and sketch?
Yes, absolutely.
And any other what are your other softwares?
My main software is Photoshop and the Cintiq. That's the most comfortable to me. Cool. Cintiq is huge and weighs like 1 million pounds. So sometimes I need an iPad, when I'm on the go or just chilling on the couch or something. So switching between those two is also very useful for me.
Yeah. So then, you put out so much work, and we know how much work you do, how much time you spend working. How do you stay sound? I know you're very specific about your routines and the time you're working and the place and the setting. Can you tell us just a little bit of some of those things that you focus on there?
Yeah. So for me, if I focus too much on work, I will. I'm just somebody who, once I get into my creative flow, I tend to stay in it. And actually, one of the challenges that I have every day is when I'm painting, like it takes me a while to get into it, but once I'm in it, I don't stop until I kind of have to force myself to. So I could paint until deep into the night if I didn't have my regular schedule and routine. So my routine is incredibly important for just keeping that balance, not getting, because when I draw too much, so it sounds like a good thing, right? Drawing too much, but it led to me developing an injury in my elbow. And later on, a lot of problems with my shoulders. And the more these kind of things happen, the more I realized that it wasn't just about, my posture or whatever, because I worked on all that stuff. And it was important to sort of work on the ergonomics of my setup and everything. But it was much more like the mental state that I would get in, like this intense hyper focus where the only thing that mattered was the drawing. And I was not in touch at all with how I was feeling with my physical needs, eating, drinking, stretching, taking a break, relaxing. All those things just didn't happen because I was too focused on the art. So for me, the stuff outside of drawing to support a healthier practice of drawing is incredibly important to keep my creativity going. So having a workout routine or exercise routine really helps. I also switch I spend the first half of my day working from home, just behind my laptop or my iPad, and then I go to my studio space later. And I think if you don't have multiple spaces to work in, you could also go from your couch to your desk, or just switch your workspaces up so that you're not sitting in one place for too long. Having like evening routines where I wind down and relax, and having hours where I just really need to, not work, but just walk and think and let my mind wander. Those activities that are not drawing, but are supportive to like a healthy drawing routine are just as important to my creativity as drawing itself.
I love that. I think it's so tremendously important that, people know that high achievers struggle with the rest part. And I think there's an equation we always remind ourselves of, that the growth equals stress plus rest. And if you don't have them both, you can't get there.
It's the same in physical exercise. Like the only way that you can really improve in your fitness level is also to take breaks from time to time or switch it up a bit. And the same principle counts for everything. And I really think what I've noticed as well is that when I really structure my day well, which has been happening more and more, I've been getting into this like pretty good way of handling my tasks and my structure and not feeling as overwhelmed, that when I finish my tasks for the day and it's done, I have this nagging feeling like, is it really done? There must be something else that I still need to do. Like, this can't be it. Like I need to work a little more. I need to do more. I need to come up with more stuff to do. So there's like this voice in my head that like will not accept that it's okay. And that it's time to just relax. Like it's never okay, right? And taking those breaks and stopping and planning in advance what I need to do in a day and knowing when enough is enough has made me aware of that voice and made me able to say to that voice, sit down, go away. Like I do need to relax and it is okay. Like, because if you are never aware of that voice and you live by it, you'll just run yourself to the ground.
Yeah, we have that with Kit Bash all the time. The Kit Bash team is all very hyper-focused, high-achieving. And so for us, we found that the structure we need to put into place, we don't ever need to tell someone when they need to start working. But we do need to say when you have to stop. Yes. And so, for us, our company hours are you can't work after 7 p.m. and you can't work weekends, because we know that without those limitations, that's when then we push ourselves too hard and we get burned out. And I think it's amazing that not only are you able to stay in such a creative flow, but you're able to do it from a place of balance and order.
It's the only way I could still be doing this, because if I didn't slow down and take it easy and take those breaks and prioritize that, I really wouldn't be, I would have burned out in some way or other, and it wouldn't have worked out. So like slowing down was the only way to maintain the momentum. And I think for all artists, it's like, if you notice that the harder you work, the less pleasant it's getting, or the more pains you have in your shoulders, or the more something's holding you back, you might have to just work a bit less. Like you might have to, rather than work more or come up with more solutions or make more steps towards getting the results you want, you might have to take less steps and slow down and work less. And then that is a real tortoise and the hare stuff. You know what I mean? Like if you do it slowly, you'll get so much further.
There's a classic Woody Allen line when he's writing a script and he can't figure out he can't solve the problem. And instead of staying with it, his routine is to go make an English muffin and take a shower.
Yeah.
And we talk about that a lot. The shower hours are really where passion comes from. When your mind is relaxed and there's nothing you can be doing, what do you actually think about?
Exactly.
And then where your mind goes there, it's like, oh, that's the area where, if you're for some of y'all out there, if you're looking to try and identify what your passion is, and that can change over time, don't stress on that. But if you're trying to figure it out, watch yourself when you're not doing a task. What do you actually think about?
That's literally like I had for my graduation project in college, art college, my animation graduation project. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I ended up I got completely stuck. And then I just really slowed down for like a month or so, even though the deadline was approaching to finish my project. I just really didn't know what I was going to do. So I just took it easy and just kind of did other tasks and focused on the stuff that was more manageable, and just relaxed and just lived my life. And then suddenly the idea came to me what I was going to do. Suddenly, just one day I was like, that's what I'm going to do. This, I have an idea. This is the idea. And it ended up going, so I had to animate a lot in a short amount of time to get it done in time. But it was just like the perfect idea, and it felt right, and it just came to me because I had taken a break from it, and it would not have come to me if I had forced it. And it ended up working out. I think it's still one of my best ideas, and it ended up winning like an award at the school and everything. So I was like, all right, it was worth it, you know, it was worth the wait, you know. Sometimes the best ideas are worth the wait.
We hear so many of our friends and artists say that you can get down the track and be, you know, achieving the thing and getting to the studio and doing the thing everyone's told you your whole life you're supposed to, and that's your ideal of success. And you get there and you realize, oh man, I was living someone else's life. Yeah. And even in whether that's the corporate ladder or even in the art world, you know, it's so important to figure out who you are and not feel the if you can, and the pressure comes from everywhere, especially in social media. But it's so important to get to where you have your own unique voice. And I think you are such a shining example of that. And we couldn't be more excited that you're now even gonna be diving deeper into your social platforms and putting things out. And Carmen Cine Art mentioned that you have an amazing Patreon. For sure, if you guys are interested in this, go follow, jump on the Patreon there. And off of the Twitch gaming chat, several people have asked where they can follow you more. And so your IG link is there. Yeah. And
at Loish VB, in case you don't see it.
Lois VB.
Lois VB. No
it's
H.
very confusing. Like there's always some person like somebody who's called Lois and then a last name that starts with an H that gets the Loish before I do. So I have to use all these creative like workaround names.
So at Lois VB on Instagram and the social platforms, and where can people find your Patreon?
Yeah, that's patreon.com/Loish. So that is the Loish.
I'm glad I checked.
I'm the first Loish who joined Patreon.
Well, Lois, yeah, we could spend all day talking to you here, and I know the chat would be excited. But we, you know, your time is incredibly precious, and we can't thank you enough for spending a bit of it here with us. All of you all in the chat, please give a very warm thank you to Loish for joining us. And hopefully that this won't be the last time we'll get to do this again soon.
Yeah, it was really great. Thanks for having me. And thanks everybody who dropped by in the chat. It's really great to see your messages. They're coming by so fast right now.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you all.
It's so fun.
Awesome. Thank you, Lois.
Yeah, have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Have a great day.